the president going down that road, because every tariff on Canada is a tax on Americans. That's exactly what's going to happen.
To actions detrimental to European exports, the European Commission would react in a swift and adequate manner.
I'm always concerned with Donald Trump because he changes his mind every single day, it seems. But we don't have to take a backseat to anyone. We should never take a backseat.
The European Union treats us very badly. They have for years. And as you know, we're going to be doing reciprocal tariffs.
Just now, the unimaginable occurred. Europe immediately severed relations with the United States on roughly $2 trillion worth of trade and investment, dealing a shocking blow to American economic dominance. The Europeans did not turn to China or Russia for support. Canada was the country. This abrupt change has taken Wall Street by surprise, startled Washington.
Talks will start at some point. President Trump will be forced to make some deals. The EU will be one of the most obvious deals that he has to make.
And sparked a geopolitical realignment unlike anything seen in decades. It was sparked by a new wave of harsh tariffs from the Trump administration. Europe has selected a new transatlantic ally for the first time in modern history, and it is not the US. Quick favor before we move on. If you appreciate this content, consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. Believe it or not, more than 92% of viewers haven't subscribed yet. It's free and only takes a second, but it means the world to us. So, did you subscribe already? Great, thank you so much for your support. Now back to the video. However, the European Union responded with a thunderclap of its own. It turned its attention away from the United States and forged alliances with Canada. Instead of caving in to American pressure or attempting to engage in tactful diplomacy. The ripple consequences are rewriting global ties and altering markets, leaving Washington in a state of astonishment. For many years, the United States and Europe have had one of the strongest economic partnerships in history. Due to the trillions of dollars in bilateral trade, hundreds of thousands of jobs, shared standards, reciprocal investments, and interconnected supply networks, many people believe that the two nations' relationship could not be broken. At this point, however, that confidence has been betrayed. President Trump has imposed broad tariffs to protect what he calls core American industries. Almost every industry was impacted, including steel, autos, agriculture, pharmaceuticals, and even environmentally friendly technology, which has been viewed in Brussels as a betrayal of both economic cooperation and long-standing diplomatic respect.
To actions detrimental to European exports, the European Commission would react in a swift and adequate manner.
The administration's message was unmistakable. America comes first, even if it means placing allies last. The European states responded quickly, carefully, and brutally. Because of the tariffs, European Union Commission officials called emergency sessions and decided that appealing to the Trump administration was futile. Instead, they began developing a bold new trade reconfiguration that would shift the flow of capital, services, and commodities to other areas and reduce Europe's dependency on the United States. Negotiations with Canada accelerated in just a few weeks, culminating in the release of an expanded and more comprehensive version of the already existing Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, CETA. Without the United States' help, this new framework will erase the remaining tariffs between the European Union and Canada and promote energy coordination, digital cooperation, and the development of a transatlantic investment hub. Shockwaves hit almost instantly. Financial analysts predict that Europe's move away from the United States and toward Canada, along with reciprocal retaliatory tariffs on American exports, will cost the U.S. economy almost $2 trillion over the next 5 years. Once deeply embedded in European markets, major American manufacturers are now being pushed to the margins of those markets. Billions of dollars worth of contracts have already been diverted to Canadian businesses. Partnerships in the U.S. are being transferred to their Canadian equivalents, including agreements in the aerospace sector, renewable energy initiatives, pharmaceutical research, and digital infrastructure development. Investor confidence has already been affected by the default on these contracts, which has caused the U.S. market indices to drop. The typically taciturn and courteous European leaders did not keep their words to themselves.
1 year ago, they said your country was dead, and now you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. We do. We have the hottest country in the world right now. The European Union treats us very badly. They have for years. And as you know, we're going to be doing reciprocal tariffs.
French President Emmanuel Macron said, "We are turning the page. There is no way that unilateralism can be used to hold the European Union captive. We will find new partners who are willing to work together and appreciate fairness." German Chancellor Annalena Baerbock echoed Macron's remarks, warning that the transatlantic relationship has been corroded beyond repair unless the leadership of the United States changes course.
The tariffs have helped. It's given us not only the money, it's billions, trillions of dollars of money, but it gives us great power over enemies.
Even nations that have historically backed the United States of America, like the Netherlands and Ireland, have endorsed the change, emphasizing the need for economic stability and protection from sudden changes in tariffs. On the other hand, Canada has quietly displayed confidence in its new role, which it has gratefully embraced. Canadian Prime Minister described the partnership with the European Union as a new era of mutual prosperity. He also reiterated Canada's commitment to upholding the principles of open markets and environmental responsibility. More concretely, this means that Canadian companies now have privileged access to the vast European market, something that American companies have enjoyed for a long time. Canadian companies in the manufacturing, internet service providers, green technology, and agricultural sectors are already growing their operations to meet the increasing demand from across the Atlantic. Behind the scenes, U.S. corporate executives are terrified. The CEOs of major U.S. exporters met with administration officials in an emergency meeting to warn that the tariffs were having a disastrous effect. Here is an excerpt from a leaked memo from a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. "We are not protecting American industry. Rather, we are isolating it. The announcement that European tariffs on U.S. vehicles will be significantly increased, while Canadian-made vehicles will now be able to enter the European Union. Duty-free has angered executives in the automotive sector, who fear that the U.S. auto exports will suffer, and that future investment decisions may be diverted to Canadian assembly plants."
Of prompt retaliation if the US follows through on a threat to impose tariffs on European vehicles.
It's a very critical time for America's farmers. Every time the president uses the word tariff, he caused complete chaos and confusion.
While all of this is happening, the political fallout in Washington is intensifying. Congressional Democrats and even some Republicans have expressed their disapproval of the administration's trade war, calling it irresponsible and detrimental to American workers. Senator Elizabeth Warren called the $2 trillion economic impact the predictable result of weaponized nationalism. Senator Mitt Romney called the action an act of geopolitical self-harm. Trump has reiterated his stance, saying that the tariffs are bringing jobs back and that Europe needs us more than we need them. However, the numbers tell a different story. While factories are halting exports, foreign direct investment is declining, and the United States' reputation in international trade has taken a serious hit. The effects are not limited to the financial sector. From a geopolitical perspective, the breakup has boosted confidence among other international players, with China taking full advantage of the situation by offering Europe increased investments in the Belt and Road Initiative and commercial overtures to companies that the United States has marginalized.
This is yet another escalation here with allies. I mean, Donald Trump has vilified the EU for some time in economic terms.
Russia has moved to publicly support Europe's rejection of U.S. economic policies. Even though sanctions have placed restrictions on Russia, the power vacuum created by the U.S. withdrawal has created a sense of potential, and even smaller economies like Brazil, Vietnam, and South Africa have shown interest in joining this emerging economic corridor between the European Union and Canada. Perhaps the most startling aspect of this realignment is how quickly it has happened. Historians and economists are drawing parallels to significant global turning points, like the demise of the gold standard, the OPEC-caused oil shocks, or the 2008 financial crisis, but this was a self-inflicted event, unlike the others. The imposition of tariffs was not a result of economic necessity or global instability, but rather was part of a carefully thought-out political strategy that was intended to rally a majority of voters and incite domestic nationalism.
Well, first of all, I have to tell you, Canadians love Americans. We love the U.S. It's one person that's causing these problems.
Additionally, by doing so, the administration may have permanently changed the United States of America's place in the world economy. The European Union and Canada are working together to move forward with full force until after the U.S. presidential election, because they want to see if a new administration will give a fresh approach. In the meantime, the European Union and Canada are working together to move forward with full force.
I'm always concerned with Donald Trump because he changes his mind every single day, it seems. But we don't have to take a backseat to anyone. We should never take a backseat.
Establishing joint investment banks, cross-Atlantic research hubs, and even discussing a pilot program for a single digital currency to expedite transatlantic commerce. The European Union's credibility has been destroyed, despite the fact that backdoor talks have started in an attempt to restore some of the lost trade with Europe. At the grassroots level, the shift is already being felt. American farmers are watching helplessly.
For 7 American farmers facing potential problems because of the president. We are talking about Trump's tariffs and the trade wars.
As their contracts with European nations abruptly vanished. Midwest soy growers, who have long relied on exports to Europe, now face the possibility of their prices falling. European Union, EU, investors who once showed interest in American technology companies are now less interested in supporting them. One of the founders in Boston described the feeling as betrayal and abandonment, saying that they had always thought their allies would support them. However, we are now being punished for a policy that we did not even vote for. It is not less important because of the wider cultural impact. For many generations, the idea of the Western Alliance, a community of liberal democracies that is closely linked and anchored by the United States and Europe, was one of the main pillars of global stability. This alliance has been shattered, and it may never be reconstructed.
The president going down that road, because every tariff on Canada is a tax on Americans. That's exactly what's going to happen.
Younger Europeans who are already suspicious of the leadership of the United States due to years of political unrest, the postponement of climate change, and diplomatic instability, are increasingly looking to Canada as a model for collaboration. According to polls conducted in France, Germany, and Scandinavia, there is a growing favorability toward Canada, while the United States is losing trust. In addition, research organizations and institutions in the United States of America are experiencing the repercussions of the scenario as a result of the implications that it has brought about. Because of the impact that the circumstance has on them, this is the case. A portion of the grants, exchange programs, and collaborative innovation projects that were previously successful as a result of the collaboration between the United States of America and the European Union are currently being distributed to institutions in Canada. These funds, programs, and projects are designed to foster innovation through collaboration. Previously, the successful projects that were completed were the consequence of the collaboration that took place between the two firms. The funds, initiatives, and projects that are currently being distributed are being received by Canada at this time. All of the funds, initiatives, and projects that are currently being utilized are all geared toward fostering creative solutions that include collaboration. This encouragement is being provided by all of these resources. When we compare Boston and Berkeley to Montreal and Toronto, we can see that the latter two cities are becoming increasingly popular destinations for students and researchers who are coming from Europe. This is because Boston and Berkeley are located in the United States. Furthermore, the cities of Toronto and Montreal are gaining more and more popularity. This is as a result of the fact that Boston and Berkeley are associated with a higher level of status than Montreal and Toronto are. Given that the authority that governs situations of this nature is gradually degrading, it is quite likely that it will take several generations to discover a solution to the problem. This is because the authority that controls these kinds of situations is constantly failing. This is because the authority that is responsible for controlling circumstances of this sort has been gradually degraded. This is the reason why this has occurred.
Our hosts around the world, and again, we're their number one customer, and they need to start respecting their number one customer.
And President Trump ran on a mandate to lower costs, to create more jobs. This is going to do exactly the opposite.
The United States of America, which was once the unchallenged leader of the global economic order, is now being driven to the background in a quiet manner as a result of all of this. They are being dragged to the background because of all of this. The way in which this shift is taking place is not something that should come as a surprise. Because of all that has occurred up to this point, this horrifying new reality has come to light as a result of everything that has taken place. In contrast to the previous reality, which was lovely, the new reality is terrible. A disturbing new reality about the United States of America has been revealed as a result of recent events that have taken place. Recently, those allies who have grown weary of the unpredictability and contempt for teamwork that they have experienced came to the conclusion that choosing to do so would be the best course of action. They have, however, been successful in accomplishing this without resorting to any kind of persuasion. And they have also been successful in accomplishing this without the use of force in any manner whatsoever. The amount of $2 trillion is a realistic portrayal of the existing state of affairs, according to the findings of an investigation into the magnitude of the economic damage that has been brought about.
After this week's briefing from Prime Minister Mark Carney, it remains unclear whether Canada will clinch a U.S. trade deal by August 1st.
I think his polarizing approach more recently, I think, has turned some buyers off.
This is the conclusion that follows from a straightforward investigation that was carried out. One of the most major losses that the United States of America has suffered is the loss of the trust, influence, and stability that it had earned from its previous position of authority. This loss is one of the many significant losses that the United States of America has suffered. Moreover, there are a great number of other losses. This is only one of the many significant setbacks that the United States of America has experienced throughout the course of its existence.
And it undermines our ability to make agreements with other countries about what kinds of trade we want to see. I mean, there's no doubt trade is so important.
The topic of whether or not the United States is able to regain lost commerce is no longer pertinent. Rather, the question that needs to be answered is whether or not it is able to recover its reputation as it continues down this route. Questions on this matter are no longer relevant. The answer to that question is the one that has to be provided. Are there any chances that we will be able to reestablish its reputation as a trusted partner? Or does it not have the potential to do so? If we are able to do so, what are the chances that we will be able to do so? Is it possible to convince those who are in favor of it that it places a larger emphasis on working together with other people than it does on engaging in conflict? Would it be possible for it to have the capacity to carry out such an action? Additionally, if this action were to announce the beginning of a new global order, one in which the United States of America plays a position that is substantially less prominent than it ever expected it would be, then this would be a momentous change at this point in time. This would be the case if this move were to herald the beginning of a new world order. When it comes to the next course of action that will be carried out, there is a considerable amount of uncertainty or uncertainty.
6 months to a year, I would anticipate that your average consumer is going to feel just the U.S. tariffs.
To put this into perspective, for the time being, the message that Europe is sending is crystal clear and unmistakable. It has already determined what it will do at this point in time. This, as far as Europe is concerned, is the message that is being conveyed. At this precise instant in time, each and every page has been completely flipped around. This is the point at which the book began. At this very now, the repercussions of the fall of an influential empire are being played out in real time, and people all over the world are watching the unfolding of these events because they are taking place right in front of their very eyes.
Parts, so he has to take that in consideration, or they're going to see a lot of Canadians buying anything but American cars.
The fact that this is not to be confused with a rumbling explosion, but rather with a tariff, is something that you need to understand more than anything else. Across the entirety of the Earth, this action is being carried out in each and every geographical region.